something very tragic happened to me about a week ago. The majority of your life, you're not fully making those decisions yourself, and your subconscious mind is, which is literally a fact. Like, you can't really argue that. We're making decisions on autopilot. We're living on autopilot. And when you're on autopilot, your subconscious mind is in control because you're not actively making those decisions, and you can't.
Welcome to another episode of the Journey podcast, and this time we have a very special guest because not only he's an entrepreneur that many in the e-com space know of, but also he was a client of mine. He's doing so well that he doesn't need it anymore to say so for now. But he's a special guest. Why? Because I think, and he can tell me, of course, but I believe I'm one of the few guys that know him very well, deeply, in a way that many don't. And so it's not usual that a hypnotherapist like me, a hypnosis coach, as he often says, as I also see myself, also interviews his client as an entrepreneur itself, because I know the human behind the entrepreneur. And today we're going to talk about both. And normally we have these conversations in our calls and nobody knows. And now we're going to open up more so you can actually discover and explore what we speak about and what actually moves the needle in his mind and in his business. So, warm welcome to you, Liam. I will say your full name, Liam Bradshaw, for the people that don't know you. Welcome. Good to see you here. We know each other very well. But for the people who don't know you, in short, how do people explain who you are?
100%, bro. Yeah, I feel like there were so many things I could have unpacked in the intro. But one thing that I will say is I'm very excited for the conversation because it is literally what we usually do on call. You know, like Suroesh and I made it a priority to meet once a week. And most of the time, if I wasn't getting hypnotized, we'd pretty much just be unpacking our minds, you know, new things that we've learned, new ways of thinking, and bouncing it off of each other. So I feel like that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. But for an introduction on myself, as Suroesh said, my name is Liam Bradshaw. And I've been in the e-com space for about 6 years now, but my story starts much before that. Been trying to make money online for about over 10 years now, which naturally, to actually find success in that realm, you need to become a specific type of person. So through trying many different things, I realized that I needed to first dial in who I was as a person before any of the methods of making money would actually work. So been on a journey to really just maximize my character for about 10 years now. And that ultimately led me to finding Suroesh. We met very spontaneously at one of the gyms here about just over a year ago now. We started speaking, and what he did really sparked my attention because, as I mentioned, I've always wanted to improve my mindset and I knew the importance of it. So we started working for about a year now, and here we are today.
Thank you. Yeah, and a lot happened in 1 year. It's actually special that we're here now. I'm almost leaving. You're going to be here for a bit, and then we both leave this place, and it's the place we met, and a lot happened in the meantime. So, Liam, to start off with, I know you started YouTube when you were
12 years old.
12.
Yes.
What were you doing when you were 12 years old? I'm asking the people at home, of course. I wasn't doing YouTube, actually. I was watching YouTube probably. But tell me more about, let's go back to how did you come up with starting YouTube at 12 and what did you start with?
Yeah, 100%. I think lots to say on this, to be honest. So when I was around 12, I think already kind of my motive was to make some money, if I'm being 100% honest. I'm not going to say I came from an extremely poor family, but I definitely came from a poor family in terms of mindset. You know, grew up with a lack of abundance, and that definitely filtered into my parents' mindset, which naturally filtered to me. So from a very young age, I felt a lot of urgency to make some money. And I think, honestly, my main motivation in the beginning was I wanted to sell some merchandise, you know. So I picked up a camera one day, one of my mom's old cameras, and I just started vlogging. And of course, I did really enjoy it. And I was making skateboarding videos, random vlogs with my friends. If, you know, we were going out to like a waterfall or just like random stuff with my dad if we went to like a car expo on the weekend. But mostly around skateboarding. And then, yeah, around like 4, 5, 6 months in, started getting like a consistent audience. People at school were talking about my YouTube channel. At least that's what I believed, you know. Who knows if it was really reality, but what you believe is obviously a reality anyway. So more on that later. Then I like sold some merchandise and made a little bit of money there. And yeah, it was pretty much just me just having fun with my friends, skateboarding and things of that nature.
So you start to make a little bit of money at 12 years old, right?
Yeah, just a very small amount, you know.
Well, what did you ask for? What were the merchandise for? How did you sell it? Like I want to know how a 12 years old kid works, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I could literally go back and find the clip now of me first announcing it to my audience, but it was just pretty much showing up with enthusiasm and being like, yo guys, I just launched some brand new merchandise. I'll throw up some pics on the screen. Just me and my brother standing there modeling the merch. If you want to buy some, just DM me on Instagram and I'll send you some. And I think I was selling it for like $10 a pop, but I probably sold like 100 of them or something. So made some money. Definitely nothing crazy, but I mean, for a 12-year-old, it just made me realize, okay, if I have attention, I'm able to take that attention and turn it into opportunity. And the opportunity there was obviously making some extra pocket money, you know?
Yeah. So you, at a very young age, you already had that spark of making money and doing something different. Or where do you believe it comes from? I mean, you spoke about you grew up in South Africa, of course, in a quite scare environment, to say.
Absolutely.
Can you take me to that time that you really...
Yeah, 100%. I think what led me to actually selling merch was a combination of me feeling like I wanted to make some money because I didn't have money. So operating out of kind of desperation, but then also just not taking it so seriously and really just following my natural curiosity. You know, I picked up a camera. How do I work this thing? I figured it out. I watched YouTube videos on how to edit. And I didn't really think too much about it. I just said, okay, I'm just going to do this. That's going to lead to this. This is going to lead to that. And you only really connect the dots looking back. But in the moment, it's just about taking one step in front of the other. And then eventually get to the point where at that time, I sold 100 T-shirts. But if I never picked up the camera in the first place, that would have never happened. You know, so it really was just taking one step in front of the other and not really letting anything stop me, you know. If I didn't know how to get a specific shot or edit a specific video or do a certain effect, I simply just figured it out.
And fast forward from 12 till 18. At 16 you started your e-com brand, right?
Yes.
So from 12 till 16, what did you do in the meantime, and then how did you come up with like starting e-com at 16?
Yeah, so very interesting, man. And I think one thing which I started doing was kind of, I haven't done it in a while, but it was a stage in my life where I was kind of looking back at my younger version of myself and actually thinking, okay, what advice or what behavioral traits can I take from them that if I implement it now would be a positive in my life? And one of them was just not giving a fuck, you know, like there was a stage where I was just making YouTube videos. No one in my school was doing it. And in the moment, it felt big, you know, I was putting myself out there on the world, showing people my life and inviting them to come view what I was doing, you know. So I just didn't care. You know, I would just post whatever I wanted to, whatever video I felt like making, I would make the video. Even in my first video on YouTube, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but whatever I feel like doing, I'm just going to do it, you know? And I feel like that's such a like good statement that you can even put into your day-to-day life now at this age, and your life will be better as a result. Sadly, though, when I got a little bit older, I started getting a little bit more insecure. Like high school came around, I started getting a lot of acne, had some issues with friends that like really affected me very much in the moment. And of course, when you're young, it feels like the world's coming crashing down, you know? So really got a lot more reserved and into my shell. So from like 12 to, I would say, 14, or like there was like a period of time where I didn't really do anything like entrepreneurial. I was kind of just like messing around. At 14, I started selling LED lights. So I'd literally just go to the Chinese store, buy LED lights. Like that was when like colorful LED strips was trending. Like everyone had them in their room and stuff. I would buy them from the Chinese store. Again, just put it up on my Instagram. Anyone want LED lights? I'll sell them to you for like 150 Rand, which South African currency, that's like $10. Got a bunch of DMs, and then I was selling those for a stage, essentially like drop shipping, but in person. And then I was just doing whatever, you know, hustling through doing YouTube, I learned how to use a camera. So I started a creative agency. I was doing photography, videography, social media management for like local businesses. I've got a bug here that wants to come in my mouth.
Yeah, I see it.
And again, then making a little bit of money, you know, like I always was making more money than like the average person in my school, even though it wasn't a lot. It was still, I was the guy that had like a little bit more money, you know. And again, just followed my natural curiosity, went down the rabbit hole, learned about social media marketing, learned about drop shipping. And then, around 16 years old, after I'd been doing my creative agency, doing YouTube videos, doing music videos and commercials for local businesses and artists in my area, I got into e-com with a good friend of mine.
A whole story. Like, a lot happened, right?
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of things at a very young age, and what was one of the struggles you had to deal with when you were like younger? In that time, you said like acne, and then like how did it affect you, and how did you react to it?
Yeah, I would say the biggest, or like maybe two things. Like, one thing was just feeling like I had something to prove. You know, as I said, I grew up like kind of in a scarce mindset, with my family having a scarcity mindset, and I kind of rejected that. But through rejecting that, you can't just reject it and then fall into it. You know, you have to reject it and then prove something. At least that's what I thought. So really growing up feeling like I need to prove something to the people around me, prove something to my parents. And then obviously with getting, you know, super insecure, having these things that in the moment really affected me, it was also proving myself to peers and to other people, and feeling, even if it was myself doing this isolated, I felt like, I need to like make a bunch of money or live a certain lifestyle to like show people, you know, like, look what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? So I would say those were like probably the biggest things. And then obviously breaking the limiting belief that this is actually possible, you know, like making a bunch of money online, traveling is actually a reality that exists, you know? And there's so many little things that happen which kind of open up your mind, you know, which you only really realize like looking back. But when I was filming music videos, I got connected with an artist who I'm actually friends with now, who was living in Cape Town City. So I'm from a small town just outside of Cape Town City. And then you get Cape Town, which is where there's, you know, lots of money, big houses. But it's a very small little bubble within South Africa. And he invited me to a villa to come stay overnight and film a video for him. And this was like crazy eye-opening for me. I was like, damn, people are actually living like this. And I saw it with my own eyes. And I knew, okay, if these guys are here, there's a very clear path for me to also get into this life.
So seeing that really opened your mind.
Exactly.
Like to the possibilities.
Exactly. But it was seeing it and feeling the emotion, you know, which is why I feel like hypnosis and visualization is so powerful, because if you can just see it in your brain and feel the emotion, there's actually no difference. You just need to believe that it's a real thing in the first place, and then see it in your mind and accept it as true, and then it's exactly the same phenomenon.
Yeah, so we can dive into this deeper, because you know actually a lot more than I think people know. People who watch your YouTube videos, they know you know more than just doing e-com. You're not the regular e-com guy that builds a brand and let's say spend his money on cool stuff. You actually dive deep into psychology, and you like hypnosis. We had a lot of conversation about it. What I remember when I saw your Instagram, but also when I saw a story of guy we all know, Arlen, and he spoke a lot about you, that you made millions in revenue and everything. And so when we spoke here at the gym, like 10 minutes from here, you already like told me like you're doing good. And so the guys I work with, they're doing a good job. Still, you had mental obstacles. Like, take me with, and for the people at home who are building a business and having mental obstacles, like maybe they can relate to this. What were the mental obstacles you were facing? Because we all have them, and you know it, but not everybody is willing to open up to it. You know, you said something like rejected. Many people reject their problems if it's not there. But you were willing to face it at a young age. And what did you face? Why did you even come to me?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to preface on that, a point of like a lot of people reject their problems. one realization I had a long time ago as well was that people go through all of this shit. They go through all this pain, these problems, and then they just try to brush it off as quickly as possible. And while yes, cool, that might help you to move on with your life quicker, if you were to just take a step back, take time to actually reflect on it, dissect it, what can I take from this, lessons learned, you're actually turning that into a positive, right? And if you're just brushing it off, you're missing out on an opportunity to learn and grow. So when things are going bad, obviously welcome it, and then always look for like what's actually a good side of this. But I'd really recommend taking the time to actually dissect it, you know, because if something bad happens to you, at least take the time to like take something from it, instead of it just bad happening and then that's all that it is that it was bad, you know. So definitely don't reject bad things. I would say for like with you, you know, as I mentioned, like I've been on a mission to just maximize myself mentally, physically, and in all realms of my life. So when I knew that there was a way to obviously accelerate this process through hypnosis, that was attractive to me. That's what sparked the initial interest. To be honest, as you mentioned, in the beginning, I was like, I'm actually good, you know? I don't really know what the mental blockages are. I'm just not naive to think that I have none. So that led me wanting to actually explore that deeper. So when we started working together, we even found there was a lot of things that just popped up. Situations from my teenage years, from my childhood years, like very specific things, which that caused something in my brain which I wasn't even fully aware of, you know? So I think a lot of the times, like, there's just things that are holding you back that you aren't actually aware of. And that's why you should actually go deep and figure those things out, because they could be holding you back without you even knowing, you know?
Yeah. And what did you notice? Because often I see this, we speak and then things come up. And they're like, yes, this is actually a real thing. I ask questions and then you realize like, how did you notice it? And where? How did you notice it? And where do you feel like you left potential on the table?
Before hypnosis?
Yeah.
I would say one of the biggest ones for me was feeling like I needed to prove myself to people, which obviously I mentioned earlier, but it literally came super deep rooted from my childhood, like from specific situations. And obviously as an entrepreneur, that's not going to do very good for you because you have a team to manage, you're working with other entrepreneurs, there's opportunities that come across your desk. And if you feel like you need to prove yourself to people, you're going to be, you know, being pulled in a million different directions. So I feel like me feeling like I needed to prove myself to people, I was working with people that I idolized and respected at that time as well. You know, some very big names in the industry, which I won't say specifically. But I was kind of being like thrown around, but not even from them, just by myself, you know. Like I was throwing myself around, trying to prove myself to people that I wasn't actually doing what was truly aligned with me. And that kind of just leads to wasted time, because eventually you're going to come around and you're going to want to do the thing that's aligned with you, you know. So if you're not proving yourself to people, then you just all the decisions you make is because you want to make them, you know. So that was the biggest one for me, man, was like feeling like I needed approval.
Yeah. And you already said it, like that it came from your teenager years, and also often when we don't feel like really appreciated in the past, then we're gonna search it in the future. And so that was one of the things, and we worked on it. And then what did you? I actually not really asked this question in a while. We did one time a review video, you remember?
Yeah.
Well, what have you noticed after? And like now we are a year further. What have you noticed since that been changing and the conversations we had on a weekly basis?
I would say the biggest one is like pure detachment. You know, I always thought I was detached from things, but then situations pop up and you realize, okay, you're actually not that detached, you know? So I would say detachment from opportunities, from people, because I think also a big thing is that it's never just one thing. You know, I could say, okay, the biggest thing was feeling like I need to prove myself, but then there's so many like subsets that fall underneath that bucket, you know? Like general confidence, like feeling good about myself, like feeling like I don't care what people think about what I do, what I say, what I post online. Like immediately afterwards, I started just shit posting, bro. Like, I don't know if you remember that. Immediately after Suroesh hypnotized me to like not really care what people think and obviously not be so dependent on approval, I was posting random videos on my story of me like dancing and like just saying whatever I wanted. you know, and like now I do that with no remorse, because I'm detached what people think. I'm really detached from outcomes. And again, like the fundamental net positive of that is that I'm just doing what's aligned with me without external forces pushing me in different directions.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw the videos when you were posting. I was laughing. Of course, I knew, but
Yeah.
it was great to see that you express yourself fully and also inspire other people with that. And what is something? What would you give the younger generation that is now having mental blockages, or like your age? But let's say for your age, you're very mature. So most in their 20s, older 20s, have the same years of experience in business as you have. So it's literally equal. What would you share with them if they have like mental obstacles, and your honest opinion about why hypnosis would be a good venture, and for whose hypnosis also not a vehicle? To be very
Absolutely.
honest, because it's not for everybody. You're very open-minded.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I will say is that I think it's very important to realize that any time in life that you're not present, you're operating out of your subconscious mind, which is 99% of our day. We're making decisions on autopilot. We're living on autopilot.
Hmm.
And when you're on autopilot, your subconscious mind is in control because you're not actively making those decisions. And you can't, because everything's happening in a split second. Whether it's, yeah, I mean, I don't even need to dive into that deeper. So if you can agree that the majority of your life you're not fully making those decisions yourself, and your subconscious mind is, which is literally a fact, like you can't really argue that, then you should be wanting to do everything you can to optimize your subconscious mind and shape it and change it so that everything that stems from the decisions that your subconscious mind make is in favor of how you want your life to look and the trajectory of your decisions. So through hypnosis, you're pretty much just able to open up the subconscious mind, shift things around, change things, plant things, remove things, as long as you're open to that. And then what is directing the majority of your life is obviously in favor of what you want, you know? So not only that, through hypnosis, through working with someone like Suroesh, you're able to dive deep and figure out if there is any problems, figure out exactly where they stem from, and then again, through hypnosis, remove them from your subconscious mind so they no longer have control and power over you.
Hmm.
So if you're someone that is serious about living a life that you want, removing mental blockages, removing limiting beliefs, hypnosis is a very easy way to do that instantly.
Mm. And the ripple effect you told me once, and that's a beautiful one actually, because you explained it very well. You know that I always emphasize on the fact that you can articulate things very well. You know it. This one is very clear again. So I don't need to add anything to it. To this is that you told me once about the ripple effect, and it's beautiful because 2 weeks ago somebody said like, yeah, I've read about the subconscious mind and reprogramming it. It's like, he said, it's so interesting. It's like a ripple effect, right? And I said, yeah. I said, Liam, you know Liam. It's like, I don't know. I said, watch his YouTube. He talks about this because you say like, you told me once about can you tell me once about the ripple effect? Because that's what I want to say is it is a shortcut. It is a fast way. Yes, because the subconscious mind is so strong. You know it. And like you in business also have kind of shortcuts, but you have to know how to use it and what to use, you know it, and experience is a big part of it, so you cannot cheat your way to success. On the other hand, it's not that like after one session tomorrow you make I don't know 5 times as much money. You can make it, but it takes
Absolutely.
some time. So tell me about the ripple effect, because I think that's a beautiful realistic explanation of hypnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. So you could say the ripple effect, butterfly effect, which essentially states that, you know, a butterfly flapping its wings could cause a gust of wind that goes and eventually turns into a bigger wind that blows down a tree and, you know, breaks a house down. Like such a small little thing can lead to massive outcomes. And it's the exact same thing with hypnosis, because again, when you're changing your subconscious mind, you might make one micro split decision that's in favor of how you want to live your life, and that might lead to something way bigger. You know, you might be scared to post online, then you got hypnotized to not really care what people think. You make that one post that could lead you to meeting a potential business partner, a good friend, maybe your wife, and that's a massive difference in the trajectory of your life just from one decision that you would have been hesitant to do in the first place.
Yes. The ripple effect.
Exactly.
About ripple
and
effect.
it all compounds at the same time as well.
Yes. How did it compound? Last one about this then. How did it compound in your life? Because you only shared with me, I think, a lot of things that really changed, and people see what you're doing in e-com. You're also quite reserved. You don't share that much. You share a lot about identity, you were traveling, making very creative videos. But I know you a little bit. It's like you're very social and everything, but to get to know you, you have to really spend a lot of time with you. I also know that people WhatsApp you and they get an answer very late because you're not on your phone all the time. That's a reserved Liam that I know. Yeah. And so I think it's a beautiful thing. You're not available to everybody because you spend your time very, very wisely. That's why you grew so much. Can you tell what you want to share about how you're currently running your business, what you're doing, where you're at actually, because I believe that's quite impressive for...
Absolutely. What I will say before is also what you said about me explaining kind of like how it compounds. So I would say, again, it's all about identity, right? And like all identity is who you believe you are. So if your subconscious mind is programmed in a way to make certain decisions in your favor, when you actually make those decisions, you're going to become aware that you made that decision, that you did those things. And if you're able to become aware that you did that thing, it's only going to reaffirm in your mind who you are. So that's how it really compounds and it strengthens. You know, it might start just from the subconscious mind, but then every time the subconscious mind is put into action, it's just reaffirmed and became stronger and stronger, which can work in your favor and against you, which is why it's actually very important to change it as soon as possible. Because yes, it can be changed in an instant, but again, the longer that you're in a certain mind state or that your subconscious mind thinks a certain way, the longer life is going to be working against you or for you. So that's the last thing on that.
Yeah.
Where I'm at currently with business right now. So currently have a portfolio of e-com brands. I have 2 brands which I founded myself, and then I'm consulting for a few on the side. My 2 brands collectively do about $2 million every single month in revenue with pretty healthy profit margins. The way we're really running it right now, honestly, is like the 2 brands. The one is like really a beautiful brand. It's pretty big in the camera accessory space, really focusing on making this, a brand that people know, love, talk about. The second brand, of course, we have that same mission, but it's a way leaner team. We're really leveraging a lot of AI. We're less intentional with our output and the experience that people have with us, but it's because we're intentionally trying to have really good margins and as low operating costs as possible. That's the brand that we pull all of our profit from, me and my business partner. So the one brand, I'm reinvesting all of the profits to really grow it and solidify its space in the industry that it's in, camera accessories in the creative space. The other brand is really a lifestyle brand that provides me with cash flow to be able to, travel, live my life and spend money. So that's currently my setup right now. I'm in the process of removing myself more and more from the day-to-day as the one gears up for a potential exit sometime down the line. And yeah, to do that, I need to remove myself and also then to be in favor of one of my pillars that I value in my life, which is freedom. Freedom to do what I want, when I want, travel, etc.
Check. That's where you're at right now. And hey, my name is Suroesh, and I hypnotize entrepreneurs to become wealthy, feel fulfilled and aligned. If you want to apply to work with me, click on the link in the description so you can apply to work with me like Ale, Carl and Liam already did. What had to change for you? So I know you for a year now. What had to change in your mind, in your perspective, to be able to do what you do? And also, can you in short just tell where you were? You started at 16. You pretty successful at a young age. Then did a few $1 million in ref in a few months already. That's also a thing I saw. And then I think you had a few obstacles. And then again, you built yourself up, and now you are where you're at. Can you, in short, take us where like a year ago and now? And what had to change, and what do you believe is really important for everybody? Everybody wants to scale, but they forget their character, right?
Yes. So 1 year ago, when I met Suroesh, I was in a bit of a rut actually in terms of my business. I had just scaled my current brand in the camera accessory space to around $4 million in revenue in like, oh, no, not 4 million, sorry, $2 million at that point.
4 months.
In about 4 months. And that was the biggest heights I'd ever seen in e-commerce. So I just made a bunch of money. I just seen, new heights. But I was still very much involved in the business on a day-to-day and operational basis, as well as still very attached to the day-to-day and the up and downs. So during that time, I think I was actually having an ad account problem. My ad account got restricted and I was really struggling to get it back. So I just completely had lost all of my momentum. But because I just had this rapid growth over the last 4 months, I think I really got attached to that feeling of, I'm growing month over month. I'm making all this money. If I keep doing this soon, I'm going to have made over $1 million just from this brand alone, in a few months. So I was very attached to that goal of getting to that $100,000 profit per month point with that brand, getting to millions of dollars liquid in the bank from that brand. And then when I had that ad account issue, it kind of just got pulled under my feet, So I think I was in a space where I was like, what am I actually pushing for and who actually am I, Because I'd attached myself so much to the month over month growth. And obviously through that experience, then what was the question? Sorry, because I'm explaining where I was at, right?
Yeah,
Do you
exactly.
Want me to explain?
Yeah, exactly. No, where you were at and what you were doing and what you had to change in order to be where you're at right now, because now it's going
amazing.
Very well.
Yes. Cool. So through that feeling of damn, what am I actually pushing for?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want? I obviously came back hard with blood in my mouth. I'm going to get to that $100,000 a month point and I'm going to run up this brand as hard as possible. So I almost actually became more attached again because I came back saying I need to do this now because I got knocked down, But what I soon realized was I was really prescribed to goals and needing to hit those goals at certain points and at certain times where if I wasn't hitting them, my emphasis was so much on the fact that I didn't hit it that I was actually reaffirming so much to myself that I'm not that guy that does $100,000 profit per month, I'm not that guy that's just flowing and making a bunch of money. And that led to frustration, I was getting really pissed off. And I think I expressed that to Suroesh the one time and he said to me, he's like, bro, do you believe you're going to hit $100,000 a month? I was like, yes. He was like, okay, so you believe it's going to happen. You can't really control time. So just relax. And then he was like, do you want to be the guy that gets to $100,000 a month being pissed off? Or do you want to get there with a smile on your face and look back and be like, damn, I had such a good time getting here. So then I was like, okay, yeah, I got to chill a bit, I got to detach. It's going to happen. I don't know exactly when. As long as I keep that knowing in my brain that it's going to happen and I just wake up and control the day to day. One day I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh shit, I had such a good time and boom, now we're here, So I think that was a really big thing for me. It's just detaching on needing those goals right now and rather just focusing on, okay, what am I actually putting in? Instead of refreshing your triple whale, seeing your profit and loss, just focus, okay, what can I actually do right now that moves it forward? And eventually you will get to that goal, So massive detachment from the results itself and also detachment from feeling like I need to do everything myself. Really replacing my effort with good systems and really good people. So really going deep with hiring the best people to come in and operate the brand and do the things that I can do, but they can do even better for me so that I could get more high level and focus on the vision and really just steer the ship. I would say that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, beautiful. You brought me back, you snapped me like a hypnosis back to the memory. I got itchy, glitchy, water your eyes because I know exactly the moment you shared it with me. Yeah, that's the crazy thing about my work. I get all the stories and for me it's almost normal and it's special and normal, I have to deal with it very professionally instead of taking it in as if it's mine. But I'm really living with you, you know it, right? And so it was a beautiful moment and yeah, because I knew you would do it, and the way you do it is, of course, super important. Everything was there, but you did a great job. Now you're...
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I guess another thing on that is that I feel like a lot of the times you attach yourself to an old version of yourself's goals
Mhm.
because you think it's going to be significant. But realistically, looking back, you know, if I hit $100,000 profit in that month, it really wouldn't have changed my life that much. You know, I was already at the point where I was making a good amount of money that hitting $100,000 a month would have been a nice goal to hit. But the reason why I was so adamant was just to relieve the frustration of not hitting it, as opposed to I need this because it's going to be life-changing money for me. You know, so
Mhm.
I think it's very important to periodically review what are your actual goals and like, cool, does this still align with me, or am I just pushing for this goal because a previous old version of myself had set that goal for myself?
Mhm.
When I set that goal for myself, hitting that number probably would have been insane, you know, because maybe when I set the goal, I was doing 10K a month. So then I set the goal for 100K a month. If I hit that the next month, it would have been life-changing. But then it took way longer than I wanted it to take to actually hit that level, that I got to the point where I was still chasing it, but it wasn't actually relevant to where I was in that point in my life. So you don't need to be so stuck up. You know, a lot of people don't want to put their egos aside. They're like, I have to hit this goal because I said I was going to.
Hmm.
But why? Genuinely ask yourself why.
Yes, yes. And this is very, I believe, very important and something we all have to learn as entrepreneurs. And it's not an easy thing, but you've learned it very fast, is to be able to go from doing things to observing. So you're first you're in it, right, doing it, and then you observe and you see like, oh, I want to have the 100K so badly, because you see many entrepreneurs focus on making the money, and then they have it and they still feel quite empty. And so you didn't, because you were aware, like you were aware that something was stuck. And this is always like, we feel something is not right, then we speak about it, you spoke about it, and then you did the right thing. And so what gave you the most energy or joy? Because I remember so well that I think you had one of the best times in many years, that you told me like, I feel so free. You were literally having so much fun, and I was laughing about how you sometimes text me like, I feel like doing this today, so I'm gonna do it. And that's like very new to hear from somebody who you had a team and a business, and you know, many people take it super serious, which is important, but so serious that they take away their own joy. So my question to you is, how somebody with a lot of responsibility and goals and like, yeah, focus, you need a lot of focus for it. How do you maintain joy and happiness and getting energy from it while building a serious business or businesses?
Yeah. So two things on this, or maybe a few things. I'll see if I ramble, you know. For one, it was really removing myself from the numbers, just more knowing that I'm going to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I'm going to hit $100 million a year. I don't know when, but I know I'm going to. So I'm very focused now just on the inputs. And for me, the inputs kind of stem from who I am as an individual. So I'm more focused on just having control over myself and having self-mastery. You know, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. When I say I'm gonna hit the gym, I hit the gym. When I say I'm gonna get lean, I go and get lean. When I say I'm gonna get good at paddle, I get good at paddle. So more just saying, okay, I have control of myself. That's what brings me joy and fulfillment, because what's making a bunch of money if you can't even control yourself? And how are you gonna impact the world if you can't even impact yourself enough to take yourself seriously? You know what I mean? So for me, a big one was, again, detaching from the numbers and going inward. Like, how can I be the best version of myself? You know, because anything outside of you then kind of doesn't really matter. It's just byproducts of playing the game. And then once you've leveled up that character and you continue to level up that character, then you can effectively give it to the world. And you can go out into the world and try different things and, pivot completely one day and, say, okay, I was going to work today, but now I'm saying to myself, I'm just going to chill today, and then going and just lying on the couch or lying in the sun and being fully okay with that, because that's still self-mastery, you know? What's not self-mastery is saying, okay, I'm going to go lie in the sun, but then you're like thinking about work and coming back to your phone the whole time, because then you're not doing either. You're not chilling or working, you know, because you're half in, half out. So yeah, I would say it's really that, you know, just like viewing this shit as a game, because then through the ups, through the downs, you're really just realizing that every single thing that happened is just leveling up your character. You know, something very tragic happened to me about a week ago, which I don't know if I should get into the details, but I lost a bunch of money, you know, like a bunch of money actually got stolen from me. which I'm still working to hopefully get back. But in the moment, it could have been a very stressful situation for me, and I'd be lying if I said during times it didn't affect me mentally. But I do pride myself on the fact that I was self-aware enough to realize that, like, cool, this happened. I'm not going to give up. So my other option is to keep moving forward and playing the game. Now, if I really look and I dissect the situation, all it actually did for me was significantly increase my stress tolerance. So now if I look at myself as a video game character, that stat on my profile is now improved. The fact that I can handle way more stress than someone who hasn't gone through that type of situation. So I'm a leveled up character because of this thing that happened for me. It didn't happen to me, it happened for me, it improved my character. So that's how you really stay detached and you just have joy, is that you're just viewing it as something that you're having fun with. It's as simple as that,
Yeah, you make it look easy and sound easy, but I know how much money it is, and it's a bunch of money. I mean, people would work a long time for it, and that you can still think about that. That means you really upgraded your whole way of thinking, and exactly, you stayed very calm. That's very strong. It's very strong.
100%. Man.
Yeah, people can learn from this, because if you can deal with this kind of stress and stay calm, then there's a nice saying that you will always be calm in the chaos. Then nothing can beat you. Exactly,
man. Like, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. That's but it's another, like, on the spectrum from spectrum from challenges. You have people that go into worry and fear and then their whole brain collapses because you cannot think of solutions when you're in fear and pain. And then you have, like, being grateful while something happens where people would be like here immediately for a long time, when it would be happening on a small amount of money. There's a big amount of money. So I think you can learn a lot from this. So last year you've upgraded yourself in many ways. And I've always give back that you have to put the work in yourself, and you did that. Now you're living a life where most people would be quite jealous of or happy for you. I think the first one is a bigger one, but let's say positive jealous. I'm curious how Liam from day to day stays calm and stays close to himself while having the responsibilities that you have, and while being in a game where more money is always the first thing that people talk about, right? Scaling. And it's a good thing. Ecom and consulting founders, they always want to make more money, I believe. And I think it's healthy to have good goals. But how do you, on a daily basis, take us into the behind the scenes? Like, how do you operate, or what do you do specifically to stay calm?
A big one for me, which I actually realized recently that I wasn't doing as efficiently as I could have been doing, is meditation. So meditation can obviously be, there's many forms of meditation. Meditation could be going for a walk without music and simply just being present. But for me, it was really just taking time every day to go deep inwards and spend time with myself, because especially when you have a lot of responsibilities, things to do, it's very easy to just wake up and just get directly into it. And cool, sometimes I do that as well. If I've got a really busy day and I want to get things done and I've got somewhere to be, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get right into work and I'm going to get it done. But making time for yourself is very, very important, because you'll find yourself to start to become calmer, to be making decisions from your point of reference, not others. And you give yourself a period before you throw yourself into the world and have all of these different things coming your way. You open up Slack, you have team members messaging you. You open up Instagram, you got thousands of different videos to consume. You open up WhatsApp, you got this person messaging you, that person messaging you. Like, that all goes into your brain, bro. So it's like, if you just have at least 10 minutes in the morning where there's no stimulation and it's just you, your breath, your mind, that's really going to set you up to have way more control and way more intention of your mind state.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are adopting being very intentional with their time, but not being very intentional with their mind state. You need to decide what mind state you want to be in, because it really is a decision at the end of the day. And it's like, cool, you might decide to be intentional with your time and go to work and go to the gym, but if you're not in a good mind state while you're doing that, like, all you're going to remember really is the mind state that you're in, because that's going to be your point of reference for how you actually experience the situation. So if I look back on, let's say, 1 year, like the past year, there was times where I could have chose to be more present, or chose to see the good in things, or chose to be more joyful, or, you know, things of that nature. And like those are all mind states, you know, and that would have made my life feel a lot more light. So it's like, be intentional with your time, but also be intentional with your mind state. And meditation, spending time with yourself and tapping into yourself will help you to be more intentional with those things.
Okay. Mind state. Well, yeah. Talking about mind state and actually another thing. You I remember that you told me that there was a time you really had a really big challenge, and we don't need to dive into the big challenge. It's more that, yeah, that's what I remember. I was thinking, like, if you look at ecom and you know a lot of ecom guys, right? And you do consulting too. What are the biggest challenges you see that they are facing? Because you also speak to a lot of the guys in the industry as an entrepreneur yourself, not like a guy like me that they share their problems with to solve it. And what do you often see? And is it also correlated to the challenge you had back then?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely are some aspects which are correlated to the challenges that I have. Like, I won't dive too deep into it because we've already covered it. But I think the biggest thing is attachment. You know, a lot of people are very attached to their results, very attached to the money that they're making, you know, scared to pay for coaching, scared to pay suppliers, scared to, you know, part ways with their money when it's necessary for the business, you know. Like, especially with money, man. Money is leverage. Money is a tool. Like, it's not about making all the profit for yourself and just keeping it. It's about making the profit for yourself and then using it as leverage, you know, hiring people, removing yourself more, like things of that nature. So I would say attachment is very big. Attachment to the results, as well as we mentioned. So then they're pissed off on a day-to-day basis and they're not operating from a place of flow. That's also a massive one. And I would say perfectionism is a big one as well. You know, trying to make everything very perfect before they actually go ahead and launch. I speak to guys that, you know, haven't even ran a single ad yet, but they're looking to get investors on board and they've got a whole pitch deck and they got like this brand Bible and this whole plan of how they're going to do X, Y, Z. But bro,
just get it out
doesn't
there.
really matter what you think and what you want because you haven't even ran a single ad. You could run your first set of ads and realize, okay, everything I thought that was going to work was wrong, you know? Like, that's marketing. It's not always about what you want and what you think is good. It's about how the platform's actually responding. You know, how's Meta responding? Like, you're running a Facebook ad, you might think you made the best ad in the world. You upload it to Meta and it 0 ROAS. Like, that's very real in the e-com game, you know? So it's not about what you want and what you think is good. It's about how is your audience and your customers actually responding. And you only figure that out when you actually get the ball rolling. And you can't get the ball rolling if you're a perfectionist. So perfectionism is a massive one as well. I would say another one which isn't really like, I don't want to sound like a dick or anything here.
I was just saying, like, we're gonna be sounding like very assholes, but gotta be honest, right?
Yeah, like a lot of people think like the brand that they're building is like the coolest thing ever, you know?
This comes from a good place, yeah.
And it comes from a place because I know that my second brand isn't cool, you know? Like, it's not a cool brand.
Exactly.
But it makes money.
I agree.
You know? So I think a lot of people think that their brand is like gonna be the next biggest water brand or healthcare brand or whatever it is. I think it's very important to set these goals, but I also think it's important to be realistic with like what you're actually working with so that you make decisions from that point of reference, you know?
What do you mean by that?
So for example, instead of chasing like the biggest influencer when you've got 0 influencer marketing, maybe start small first and build your way up and then set the plan to chase that biggest influencer with results to showcase for it. That's just a random example, you know what I mean? Like, I think people...
Too delusional maybe?
Yeah, I really want to like, I don't want to... It's very hard to explain actually what I'm trying to say. So I don't want to make it sound like you mustn't have a big vision because I think it's very important to have that vision and reverse engineer. But I think it's important to do it from a realistic place so that the steps that you put in place are actually actionable.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say we're doing $1 million a month.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, okay, next month let's do 100 million. Because then what's my reverse engineering plan going to look like that? I'm going to have to hire 10 creative strategists, 5 video editors. I'm going to have to put a $1 million purchase order for stock down.
You probably can't
And I can't even execute on that.
No.
You know, so that's more what I mean, you know. It's like, take it from where it is so that you can actually make effective decisions to move you forward now. Does that make sense?
I do agree. Like you're if you say you're gonna do such a big brand, and it's nice to have vision, but the actions are not aligned.
Exactly.
So then it cannot work, and that's an easy thing to say. Yeah, but it's easy to give the external things. How do you say it? Like to put it at the external things that it's their mistake, that it didn't happen. But that's easy because if it's really not possible, you can always say that it's but XYZ. So if it's closer, it's more realistic, and then you need to do it because there's no reason to not do it. To go back, you said one because we bashed very hard. So let's be a little bit more kind than now.
Yeah, no. I've got a few more points as well that I can dive into.
Yeah, okay. You said 2, you can share the rest too. But what I see a lot is going from a fearful state to the flow state. I see that they act from a place from fear a lot, and it's not their mistake. They're wired like that, of course, and also their parents probably told them that everything is a risk. But how did you go from the fearful state to the flow state? Everybody wants to be in a flow state because things go way more in your favor.
Yeah, 100%.
You're in a flow state, you can say so.
Yeah, for sure. I would say the thing that stops people from going into the flow state is obviously being scared of fear. Like, it's okay to be in the fear state, but don't be scared of fear. Because if you're scared of fear, when you're in the fear state and you start taking action, you're going to have to encounter fear, you know? So it's more about, I'm in the fear state. I want to get into the flow state. What is flowing? Flowing is moving. So let's just start moving things and let's get the momentum flowing. Let's welcome fear. Let's welcome failure, you know, like, find out what it is that you're actually scared of. Most of the time it's going to be failure. So then run for failure. Fail 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 10 times. Take those as learnings and then completely numb yourself to failure, you know? Like, if you fail 10 times, what's failing 1 more time? And then when you're just doing all of these things, then you get everything into motion and then you eventually reach flow state.
Well explained. Welcome fear. Yeah. It will always be there, and so you see this a lot. What else do you see? You said there's one more that you said. That's a big one. So flow state, and then after that you had another one. Yeah,
you actually kind of covered the one, and the one it kind of leads into it. But I was gonna say people are too scared to try things. You know, like too scared to just fail. So everyone's trying to, and it all kind of stem because then everyone's too scared. Everyone's trying to do everything perfectly.
Perfectionism.
Because they don't want to fail.
Perfectionism is a killer.
It's all like it's all like one big ball of just like mess, you know? But yeah, a big thing is that people are just scared to fail, bro. Like, and they're scared to they get attached to a brand, which then again is thinking their brand's too important. So then they don't pivot, but then they're attached. So then they stay on the one thing. Then it takes them 6 months to realize that this wasn't the right thing for them. Then they've wasted 6 months. So I would say it's a combination of everything. Be detached. Don't worry about everything being perfect first. You can figure that out later when you have momentum. Don't be scared to fail. And yeah, I think that's your recipe for success.
Yeah, so take notes. And one more thing that I notice about you that I always have sensed very strongly is that you have a very strong belief. A belief about anything. Like you stand very, very strong and tall in the things you believe. Where does that stem from, and how important is belief? Well, no, not how. Why is belief so important in your eyes? Because people take it away quite easy, like, but, and then they come with something else. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And the but is very dangerous in this case.
Yes. I think the but is very dangerous.
Sitting on your butt all day also.
Yes. But also conviction is very dangerous too, which is what we obviously spoke about, I think, at dinner the other night as well. You know, it's like believing something firmly is a net positive, but being convicted in it kind of just blinds you to any other possibilities, you know, and then you might be disregarding something which might actually be a better belief for you. or you might actually resonate with more if you're actually opening to hear it, you know, if you're open to hear it. So I think conviction is very, very dangerous, and I think that's what wars are created over. I think that's what, you know, people fighting over religions is created over. I think, you know, the list goes on. But conviction, being unwilling to actually even hear a separate belief to what you have, which is absolutely ridiculous, because the majority of your beliefs probably were planted in your brain by someone else when you were a child. So it's like you haven't even decided on those beliefs yourself, you know, so you have no context. It's like walking into a grocery store with a bunch of different water brands, a bunch of different soda brands, but because someone said to you when you were young that Coke is the best soda, you will only ever drink Coke for the rest of your life because you believe it's the best and you don't want to try another one. You know, it's like, it's pretty much the same way in like life, you know. So the question was, why are beliefs important?
Yeah, why is belief so important? And it's a well explained, that belief and conviction. Otherwise, you will never learn again if you believe this and always stay with it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would say like the difference between conviction and belief is, I think like Ty Lopez said this actually, and he was like, conviction is like and like belief is like you believe it, but like you're still open to hearing something else. You know what I mean? And the reason why I believe so important is because belief is what gives you direction in life. Like if you don't know what you believe, then how you gonna have where's your moral compass? You know, like your moral compass is what's gonna steer your decisions. And if you don't know what you believe, you're gonna be all over the place. Simple as that.
And being all over the place, that's
wasted time.
Exactly, time and energy. And so, what I would like to ask you is a very tricky cliche question. No, it's a tricky question. So what is a question that you would like to get more, but you don't get a lot? Also, you're not super available to talk to for most people. It is true. You spend a lot of time with people that are close to you, which is a beautiful choice, of course. But what is a question that you would like to hear more, ask more, and that you haven't got, maybe in a podcast, maybe now?
How are you doing, really? I think a lot of entrepreneurs and people in my mindset like naturally take charge in the scenarios that they're in, because you have things to say, you've taken the time to learn different things, and a lot of people are obviously stuck in a lower state of consciousness, so you want to bring them up, you know. But I think that also comes with the feeling that a lot of people might not be as aware to know that you also have your own problems, your own thoughts. You may be struggling with certain things, and sometimes you kind of want the people closest to you to like actually ask you how you're doing. You know, didn't want to get deep with this, but I guess that was the first thing that came to mind for me.
Yeah, being very honest. And if I ask you like, how are you really doing?
You're asking me right now. I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good.
What's on your mind lately?
I would say I've had a really tough week because of that whole situation that we spoke about earlier with the money being stolen and things of that nature. But it's also nothing that I know that I can't control, you know? So I think it's like this constant battle of being aware that awareness is so important that you're constantly fighting falling out of awareness, which can be a little bit tiring. Because it's like situations like that where it takes effort to stay in a certain state of mind, but you know how important that state of mind is. So it can be a little bit draining sometimes. The people around you might not really understand, you know? So it's been like a battle of staying afloat with a weight weighing you down.
Thanks for sharing. I'm actually reading a book that the name is Awareness.
Okay.
And I was reading about this 2 days ago.
Really?
Yesterday, yeah. That like waking up is like seeing that many people, including us sometimes, are living in an illusion.
Yeah.
And a great example that he gave is like that everything you do it for oh, you do it for others, you do it to be a good person. Yeah, it's important. You need to be a good person. It's also morality, right? And having right values. But then still, to be honest, we do it for ourselves too. And admitting that we are selfish. So there's always a win-win. And admitting it, that's, he said beautifully, he said, like, then you're awake. You see that you're selfish, but you also do it for somebody else, but you do it also for you. And like not ignoring that what reality is. But reality, you have to see reality, you have to go through the illusion. So for example, saying everything is, for example, saying that there's no problem and everything is good, that's an illusion that makes you feel better, but it's not the reality. And the reality, see the reality, it can feel uncomfortable, but that's reality. And if you can live with that, you will have a free life. Exactly. So I believe you're free because I know you're doing good and also struggle and admit. And that switch, he explains like the switch, and I know it too. It's like you're living life, but also observing, right? It's your default mode network. But to be in flow state, and this is interesting, to be in flow state, you have to be in the moment. You're in the moment with flow state, right? But you know the moment that you go out and you're like, whoa, I'm tired? Or then you're like observing yourself. But there's also a time that they all work together. You're observing yourself, and that's intense. That's very intense. So being aware that you need to decompress and take time for yourself, that's something I've learned last year a lot. 100%. That's why it's tiring. Yeah. Because if you're not living the life that you could do, and you cannot make conscious choices out of not being aware. Then you're just doing whatever you want. Exactly. That's desire.
And also awareness is like I said earlier, being able to actually dissect certain situations and then choose from that situation what you want to take from it.
Exactly.
Which takes time, it takes energy. And
switching.
If there's something that happens, if you just push it to the side and you say, life's good, that's delusion. And it's going to come up later. So it's like
a ball, you know?
The awareness of actually taking that ball, deflating it, pulling out what you want from it, and then moving forward is a very different process to the ball's there, I'm going to put the ball underneath me and say life's good.
Exactly. So thanks for sharing. And also that's where I believe you're at, where you're at right now. Because, and I sometimes tell you, right, that I respect the way that you look at life and go through life. And especially as I'm a bit older than you, and I've people around me around my age, and I see how they do things, and you do it already at your age. So I know you're living the life that you want to live. So it's more important to stay on the right track, right?
Yeah.
And also live a little. That's, I think, very important when you're so serious in things, because you have a lot of things to be grateful for and find joy in. And you also have a lot to strive for. You have a lot of years to build. We both have. And I see that you found a very sweet balance while staying human, and not being like a machine and robot.
Yeah, 100%,
so that's great to see. Last because we could talk for hours, but one thing that popped in my mind is like, is there something you would like to leave the listeners, watchers, because it's going to be on YouTube too, with? And I asked this question. I do podcasts for a few years now, and I talk to people for 10 years now. And I love one question that I really love, and it's a question that I literally also sometimes would ask with my friends in a room in Holland when we didn't make any money. And we were like, but if we would never see each other again, imagine we never see each other again. So imagine there's a door here, we're in South Africa, money doesn't matter anymore, literally. And time and money doesn't matter anymore. We are so wealthy, or it is gone in the world. What kind of last advice would you give to humanity, like the people who listen? So we go to Mars, Elon sends us, and then everything dissolves. But this is the only advice that stays. You can say two things. Where would you want to leave the people, entrepreneurs, with?
So it's two questions, right? One last thing to say and then one last piece of advice.
Two pieces of advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say one last thing I'd leave for this podcast, especially considering it was very focused around this and it is very important, is don't be afraid of going deep into your mind and figuring out what might need changing, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Because the things that are in your brain right now, you've been operating with for the last 5 months, 5 years, whatever it may be, you've probably gotten comfortable with that feeling and with that way of thinking, and you've become attached to that identity. Don't be afraid to go into the brain and shift them, because I think something that you told me was that you will not be able to shift your mind from where it is now, or at least through hypnosis. You will not be able to shift it to something negative if you're not open to that negativity. So there really is only infinite upside. It's not like you're going to dive deep into your brain, want to change a certain limiting belief, and it by some chance gets worse. That's only possible of happening if you're open to that happening. So if you're not open to it getting worse and you want it to get better, some hypnosis, some subconscious changes and subconscious decisions can completely change the trajectory of your life if you're open to it. It will compound. You might not see it show up immediately, but if you're intentional with it, it will have lasting benefits. So don't be afraid to go into your brain and change some things. Now, when it comes to one piece of advice that I'd give humanity is, I could sum this up into one very short sentence, and I think I'll drop that and then I'll maybe expand on it a little bit more, but simply, don't take this shit so seriously. That's literally it. Like, don't take life so seriously, because you're here for a very short period of time in life where all of your problems, all of the things that feel so big in the moment, only feel big in the moment because you're very much in them. But every time that you take a step back and you actually view them for what they are, in the perspective of outside of just your own brain, you realize that it's not that deep. And as soon as you're able to see those things in life, then pretty much any situation cannot get you down. And that will just make your entire existence on this planet in the short period of time that you do have a lot more enjoyable. So don't take this shit so seriously.
Thanks. And sorry, I'm going to interrupt the pattern super hard, because I know that everybody's listening twice as much better, because I asked the last question as if there were no questions after, which was true, no. But then one thing about, like, it adds to the last thing you said about where are you, that's really the last one. Where are you, this is actually a technique that the media uses a lot, by the way. A little foot step
I like
between the door, you know? So I can take a last step. Is where are you most excited about right now? I really want to know. So I'm here as if nobody's watching, and I would ask this. Where are you excited about?
Yeah, man. To be honest, it's coming back even harder with my brands. You know, we've got such good momentum right now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everything that I've been doing for the past few years is really compounding at the moment. So right now it's just about continuing that momentum and just having a lot of fun in the process, to be honest. Like, I'm really loving what I'm doing, the people that I'm working with, and where I'm going. So it's really that. And it's also, I've recently, as of a few months ago, got really clear on like 5 pillars in my life that as long as I'm just operating in alignment with those, it's a recipe for a beautiful life for myself. And I feel very happy about the fact that I have that clarity. So just showing up every day and acting in alignment with those. So very exciting for me.
Exciting. Alignment. I hear it a lot. That's something we can emphasize on in the next episode.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'll say one last thing. Like, why are you doing anything if you're not aligned with it? Like, don't forget that you have free reign to do whatever the fuck you want, bro. Like, do what you feel aligned with.
Yes.
Not what is maybe in your brain, like a goal that got planted in your brain from a social media video that you watched 5 years ago where some guy had a Lamborghini. Like, that literally might be something that made you think, I want a Lamborghini. And then you wrote down that goal for yourself, and now you've been attached to it. But if you really sit and think, okay, am I really aligned with that? Like, will that really give me the fulfillment that I'm searching for? Chances are no, you know? So find other things that if you are aligned with and you act in accordance with, cool, you might get a Lamborghini along the way, but it was never the main vision. Then you get the Lamborghini and you get the fulfillment.
Imagine 5 years from now, people don't listen to anything we've said. You don't need to listen to us, by the way, because it's really your own choice. We just share this because we want to share this. We want to do this. We like to do this. Honestly, we're
still figuring shit out as well.
Exactly. Yeah. We're saying
sharing our own experience.
That's not a reality. Disclaimers is not like health advice that you need to follow. Of course, I studied, and of course, he has a lot of experience. But you have to make your own choice, of course. But that's it. We're both detached, so we don't care about the opinion of others, as we also have a lot of fun in this. But then imagine, because my friend always said it, he said, time will pass. 5 years from now, we'll be at a place. The question is, where will we be? And the choices you make today will decide where you will be in 5 years. And the 5 years will pass. And it's so cliche, but it happens. And the 5 year passed fast. If I look back, Bali last year went fast for me. And now we're here. So what happens if they don't do what you believe strongly, firmly in, that brought you to the point where you're at? So super personal answer. What do you believe? If somebody sat here and said, no, Liam, nice, sounds good, sounds wise. Huh? Another guy that knows it all. I sometimes hear, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Super close-minded. But where will that person be a few years from now? Give me your honest, straightforward Liam answer.
I'll start by saying that there's no way to know the future, but a very good indication of what the future would be is what you're doing today. So if you don't change, or at least try and optimize what you're doing today, you'll probably end up in 5 years in the future where you'll look back and not know how the fuck that even happened.
But let that sink in. What you're doing today and what you're thinking today mostly, that will decide where you will be. I think that's a good one to reflect on.
Absolutely.
That was the end. Thank you for watching and see you the next time. Thanks.
Goodbye.
You're a real G.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. Click.